YooHoo! YooHoo! Hi, my name is Jason Adams, and I'd like to share with you a little bit about my freaky culture. The sound that you just heard was a sound called the YooHoo call that my mom always used to get my attention, and it typically worked. I'd like to share three lessons that I learned from my childhood. One is how kids should not act in public, and then two, how parents should not act in public, and three, how parents and children should act in public. I was a very independent kid, and I always loved being away from my parents whenever I could. And in order to accomplish that, sometimes when we were in stores or at the fair or other public places, I would sometimes kind of slow down a little bit and then let my parents go ahead of me, and then I would kind of follow them at a distance. And I just liked the freedom I felt from being, a grown-up on my own. And every now and then, though, my mom, if she didn't know where I was at, she would try to get my attention by using the YooHoo call. And when she did it, my ears are trained to hear it. And I had learned that if I didn't listen and then just hurry up and get to wherever she's at, she would go louder and louder and louder. And she would do that often. So I learned how kids weren't supposed to act. And then there's a way that parents shouldn't act. And my mom was a very social, fun person, and she has no problem making herself heard in social settings. And she somehow thought that if she did the YooHoo to me when I was just a few feet away from her, that somehow I would think that that was okay and funny, and then I'd become an extrovert by her doing that. Well, it was just the opposite. In fact, I would typically run and hide or whatever because I didn't want anybody looking at me, which would make her do the YooHoo call that much louder. And it was just a cycle that went on and on. We joke about it now, but it was very embarrassing, and I grew to resent it as a kid. There's also a way for parents and kids to act in public. None of us parents are perfect, and no kids are perfect, but one thing that has really helped me as a parent not to embarrass my kids is to come up with subtle ways that I could let them know what I expect of them, and just these little cues that I can send their way. And it really works. Nobody's perfect, but for the most part I haven't had to use any YooHoo calls, so that's a good thing. So I talked about how kids are not supposed to act in public. I talked about how parents aren't supposed to act in public. And I talked about ways that parents and kids should act in public. I would just like to encourage you, if you're a parent or if you're planning on being a parent someday, next time you want to get your kids' attention, put yourself in their shoes and try to get their attention in a way that won't embarrass them. And I think that if you do that, you'll make everybody that much more happy. And with that, I thank you.
Okay.